One of my staff members told me that it was the birth of her child, something traumatic with the birth of her child, and that vision of what happened with her child flashes before her recurrently. It's just that traumatic memory of something that didn't happen to her, happened to her child, but she remembers it. So as adults, it can be financial trauma. I mean, dealing with the trauma of bankruptcy or a divorce can be very traumatic. Let's talk about what trauma is, first of all. For a lot of people, trauma can be physical. So there's a lot of you that have joined from the TBI, which is traumatic brain injury, Facebook group and discussion, concussion discussions. So I want to welcome all the TBI people where it literally is a traumatic brain injury. It's an injury to the brain that's traumatic, physical injury, right? In my case, I had multiple motor vehicle accidents. And so had a lot of trauma to my brain and had a lot of symptoms of traumatic brain injury myself many years ago. And that had a major impact. So it could be physical, like, literally physical trauma to your head or to your body, like a motor vehicle accident. I had someone actually who, one of my staff members told me that it was the birth of her child, something traumatic with the birth of her child, and that vision of what happened with her child flashes before her recurrently. It's just that traumatic memory of something that didn't happen to her, happened to her child, but she remembers it. So it's a recurrent event in her mind that triggers traumatic feelings of being anxious, worried, upset. It can be a hospitalization. Someone in the group talked about how they were hospitalized once for something, and that was really traumatic in the ER. And ever since then, they felt like that was their start of their autoimmune disease. And it can be the death of someone close to you. There could be childhood trauma as well, and childhood trauma can be physical, emotional, sexual. And for us adults, it can be financial trauma. I mean, dealing with the trauma of bankruptcy or a divorce can be very traumatic. How many of you feel, based on what you just heard as a definition of trauma, feel that was actually the triggering event of your disease? If you do, can you write in the comment section below? That would be really helpful for us to collectively share this experience. I most importantly want to talk with you and engage with you. I don't want to talk at you. So if you can share, if any of that resonated with you as a trigger for your disease, please comment in the comment section. That would be great. Okay? If you know of somebody where it was obvious that was a trigger also, and you can sympathize or empathize with that, feel free to comment in the comment section below as well. So for me, I can tell you that my motor vehicle accidents were a big physical trauma. And I can tell you that what impact it had upon me and how it triggered things worse was that I was rear-ended, but at the same time, it caused so much, we were on our way to the airport on a family trip to Disneyland, and we were rear-ended by a teenage driver that was texting on his phone. And that had a tremendous impact upon me because it created a lot of disc problems, neck problems, and all that. And I can tell you what happened as a result of it was that just even the trauma alone, what I remember was just sitting there and being crashed from behind, but my neck completely tensed up, okay? And so I had the neck injuries, and I've had multiple neck surgeries as a result of it. But the problem is that as a result of that trauma, my physical body literally went into a stiff mode, which is stiffen up, protect yourself. So it made it very difficult for the next year and a half for me to even turn my head from side to side, okay? Even though I could, I struggled with it. And so as a result, believe it or not, of me being fearful of turning full range of motion to the right or the left, I got into 2 other accidents, and as a result, in a 12-month period of time, got into 3 accidents. Car accidents. So think about repeated brain injuries and traumatic injuries as a result of multiple car accidents, because trauma has a pattern of what it does to your body. My body stiffed up as a result of that car accident, and I couldn't turn full range of motion left to right. I still struggle with it, even though technically I totally can. There is still a part of me that's really like, when I'm driving, I have to mentally say, okay, Maggie, you can actually turn completely to the right to really check whether there's a car there or not. And for a year and a half, I didn't even notice that was the impact trauma had on me, was that I physically limited my own body without even realizing it, of what it can and can't do. And it's a protective mechanism. So there's physical things that your body goes into that you think you can't no longer do that really impacts upon your body function, okay? But let's go into also, I'm going to just talk, this is difficult for me to talk about, but I was sexually assaulted. And I think that the impact of that is, and for a lot of sexual assault survivors, is that in hindsight, now that I've worked through years of, I've gone through all the mindset work and have come out the other end, one of the things I recognize huge is that a lot of us trauma survivors, especially if we're children, or if it was sexual assault where you were in a helpless state, it's not a short event, it's an event that can go on for quite some time. A lot of what we do is we dissociate. We shut down and we mentally dissociate. Move your body away, move your brain and your spirit away out of your body, okay? And I realize now when I look at it is that absolutely triggered a whole cascade of shutdown and dissociation for me. That was my physical health, but it's also affected all my relationships as a result of it. So I think about how this is something to think about, which is if you shut down at pain, whether it's emotional or physical, and that's what you learn to protect yourself in the moment, and it worked at the moment, it's an unconscious loop that you get yourself into. Is that's a really great mechanism to protect yourself. Well, maybe at the time it was, but if you think about how does this play out in health, this is how it played out for me, which was that I would look at symptoms, I would feel symptoms in my body. Let's talk about pain, okay? Physical pain. If pain level for me was a level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, I wouldn't even notice it. Okay, my self-awareness of pain, I subconsciously and unconsciously already shut it down because I don't want to feel it. I have shut down and dissociated myself from feeling pain in my body because it's too painful to even think about it or experience it. How many of you understand what that shutdown or dissociation is? So what's the result of that is that I learned to ignore my symptoms until they were 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. And think about it. If pain level is 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 before you pay attention to it, that bull's already out of the cage. That bull's in the ring running around, and it's really late to have an awareness level that's late about your own body's messages to you. But that's what happens when you use this protective mechanism in that traumatic state. Yeah, Jenny says numbing, right? How many of you numb your own pain or have a very low awareness level of it? And think back to how many of you have had traumatic experiences where you had to do that as a survival mechanism. And what it translates into for me was ignoring and ignoring and ignoring and negating my symptoms that they don't exist because damn it, I don't want to feel pain. And that translated into ignoring symptoms in my own body until it was really late. The other thing is that it affected my relationships with people. As far as emotional pain, I didn't want to experience emotional pain either. So let's be honest about this. You get into a conversation with someone and let's say it escalates into an uncomfortable conversation, okay? Those of us who have experienced shutdown dissociative state, what do? Some of us, that's shutdown of that conversation. That, you're dead to me, or I'm not going to talk to you. What do you think that's really about? Right? I know it was about for me, and it was shaped by the trauma, which is I don't want to feel emotional pain. And if I think this conversation is going to initiate emotional pain, I'm done. I'm going to disconnect from it. You can tag and comment someone in the comment section below, and they may not listen to you, but they may listen to me. So sharing is caring. So thanks for raising awareness. Those of you that are watching that it's not part of our Facebook group, make sure you join our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. All right, everybody. Thanks.